Thank you so much for coming out. We're going to be sharing information about RAC's Night Lights grant that is coming up here. Deadline is August 8th. And so this is your opportunity to ask all of the questions that you have and ask all the questions that you have.
Maybe we'll have
Marty
answers.
wanted to say something real quick,
Yeah.
so we'll let him do that.
So many of you, some of you I know, some of you I don't, but for those of you that I don't, I'm Marty Jones, and I'm the new CEO here at Metro East. If you knew Rob Brading, he's retired. We sent him off. He's already out walking the hinterlands of the United States without any cell phone or Wi-Fi or email, and having a good time. I hear from him like maybe once every 3 weeks when he's near a computer. But it's a big pleasure for me to be here and to continue on the great work that Rob did and contributed to this organization for 24 years. So welcome. If you're new, keep coming back. For those of you that I see all the time, keep up the good work, bring a friend. And glad to have new friends here to share information about the arts and funding. So glad to have you here. And if you want business cards or information, I'll give it to you afterwards.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Lindsay Kaplan. I work at Portland Community Media. So it is kind of the equivalent of Metro East, but it's on MLK in Portland.
What's your job there?
My job is the Community Engagement Director. So I do a lot of work with artists and public events and things to sort of help transform the space into a community center.
I'm the RAC half, Regional Arts and Culture Council half of this engagement. My name is William Reel. I'm the Public Art Program Specialist for RAC. And we are kind of the two representatives of both RAC and Portland Community Media who are going to talk to you about Night Lights, which is a, how many months out of the year? 4 or 5 months out of the year. In the darkest months of the year, we have an opportunity where we showcase video work on the side of Regional Arts and Culture Council. So RAC is downtown on the park blocks. Has anybody here been to RAC at all? Know about where it is? I think it's technically in the Pearl District. Picture of it at the side of the building is right there. And
It's one specific place?
it is.
Okay.
And so what this opportunity is there's a chance to showcase your work for one night a month on the side of the building. And we can talk a little bit about how the idea got started. The executive director of Portland Community Media, who used to be affiliated with Hollywood Theater, and myself and Kristin Calhoun, who we should introduce as well.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Kristin Calhoun, and I am one of the public art program managers for the Regional Arts and Culture Council.
So Kristin, myself, and Justin from Portland Community Media, all kind of, when RAC moved into this building, we're like, hey, there's a big blank wall. We should get artists to showcase some work on there. And you don't often see video work out in the public that much. It's usually on a screen or on your computer or on your phone. And so through some inspiration from some other outdoor work, video projections, we came up with Night Lights. In this case, one of our biggest inspirations was the Great Wall, which exists in Oakland. And I think, Lindsay, you know a little bit more about that than I do.
Yeah, the Great Wall of Oakland it's pretty similar actually to what we do at Night Lights at RAC, which is the Great Wall of Oakland is a nonprofit in itself, and they invite artists to showcase their work. They do sort of artist residencies there. It's a big open space that people can watch videos for free, basically. So it's a really cool way of activating some of that area in, what is it? I can't remember what the district is called, but it's in Oakland, and it's super cool. So that was one of the inspirations for Night Lights, as well as other sort of projection artist projects that have been happening for years, since the 60s even.
So you guys are affiliated with, this organization, which is a lot like Portland Community Media. But does anybody here know much about RAC in general? Do you guys have any? Yeah, because
Maybe
Kristin can explain a little bit.
Maybe I'll just give you the. Okay, I'll stand up. I'll give you the nickel version of what RAC is. The Regional Arts and Culture Council is a private nonprofit, and the main things that we do is that we contract with the City of Portland and Multnomah County to run their investment in the arts. So a lot of what we do is to give out grants, and then what we work on the most is public art, so art that's out in the public realm. Either permanent or temporary. And so that's what this particular project connects to. But I just want to make sure that you all know what Portland Community, or what, where am I? What the Regional Arts and Culture Council is, because you're in Multnomah County, which means that you are within the eligible range for funding. So there are lots of different opportunities, and so if you don't know who we are, then looking at our website or contacting either of us after this would be a good idea. Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about tonight is one small program of a lot of things that we do.
One small one that has some relevance to hopefully a lot of the work you guys do, media work.
I wonder if I should also talk, does anybody know, did I already ask about Portland Community Media? Besides being sort of similar to Metro East in that we do public access television, and we also offer media resources like you guys do here. But in addition to that, Justin Harn, who's the new executive director, the one who was at Hollywood and is now at PCM, is thinking about Portland Community Media in a broader sense and including other types of media too. So this project with RAC is sort of one of the initiatives that will be part of the overall expansion of the vision of what Portland Community Media is going to do going forward. So not only are they going to be doing public access television and other kinds of media resource things, but they'll be working with artists and bringing them in to create content, and also finding ways to partner and showcase that work around the city in other ways too, if that's helpful.
And in this is our first, I think, collaboration as two organizations in general, which is a pretty good one. Last year was the first year we did it, and we did it kind of under the radar for a while. We worked with some colleges, and we worked with some professional individuals who we knew could bring some work that would spark the interest of people walking by.
Oh, you're wired.
Lavalier.
Sorry.
No.
And so here's the side of RAC. You can see it's a pretty big wall, and right next to it is just a big flat parking lot. That what we end up doing is renting a few parking spaces, but not parking our cars, and putting a projector there. And because it's in the darker parts of the year that we do these projections, we usually put up a 10 by 10 tent so that people can hang out underneath that. And the projection equipment can be pretty safe from the elements.
What street are you on?
We're on, that lot is right on the corner of Gleason and Northwest Park. And it gets the idea of doing it for First Thursdays was that there would be foot traffic walking around the Pearl District during all the art openings that happened at that time. Mm-hmm. And so the thought would be to have this stuff on the wall. There is a sound component if desired, but it's more of a passerby experience and not a sit down to watch a feature film kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Is there sound at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, one of the opportunities besides being inspired by the Great Wall of Oakland and other kinds of projection projects is just the inspiration of this wall itself, right? And seeing it and you're like, what are we gonna do with this amazing blank canvas? And how can we use this to activate the space? Because there are these people walking by on First Thursdays, and how do we sort of capture their interest, at least for a little while?
So it's kind of cool you resisted the urge to put a mural on it or sell it for advertising. And
Yeah.
keep it so that it can be this, outdoor
Art.
project.
Yeah.
A projector there that'll project the film onto the wall.
Yeah, so it's a 5,000 lumen, I think, projector.
It's an Epson projector, 5,500 lumens that we have, and it works really well. I mean, it's a powerful object, and so we set it up with a little table and a laptop, and it does a really good job of making a decent image.
So in this case, you can see here, there's the setup. This is the parking lot. You can tell it's been raining. People are kind of cold, but they still stick around to see what happens next. And in this case, this was a group of students from PNCA, and they just had all short stuff from a class of theirs that they put together on one reel, and it just cycled through the reel for about 3 or 4 hours. That's kind of the programming that we're looking for, is pretty short form stuff. It can.
Grammar, somebody setting up the shoot, like a big HMI.
Exactly, it was grim.
Okay,
How did you know?
tired. I was like,
Yeah, they had rented like half the parking lot. We had our 2 stalls, but they had rented half.
I'm going to skip past that one, and we'll come back to it. Here's, you can explain maybe what Pulsar is. It was a middle school aged?
So yeah, these are, so maybe a tiny bit of background because I'm about to say something confusing. So this was an initial collaboration with RAC and the Hollywood Theater when Justin Harn was working at the Hollywood Theater. After he moved to PCM, all of us who were at the Hollywood with him came over to PCM. So I might say the Hollywood sometimes and I might say PCM, but in this case, Echo Air, which is a program where we have a group of teenagers that get together during the school year weekly, and they make media projects together. So we call them Echo Air, or Echo Artists in Residence. They picked their own name, which was Echo, and it went with this whole sort of sci-fi theme. But we chose to showcase their work in January, and they had some works in progress. They also did a live liquid light show, but it was their chance to show, the world what they were working on. So that's the teens, the Echo Air teens.
They utilized the wall more so than your average just square shot. You can see they went above the windows here. They had overlayered stuff. This is like remnants of a really now popular Christmas laser light stuff that you see in people's lawns. And that variety was pretty nice, I
was
thought.
they using multiple projectors or what they
Yeah.
create?
Yeah, it was multiple projectors.
And for them being, never having experienced something this scale, it was pretty cool for them to just realize you make something and you make it on this, it transfers a lot differently than when you go to that scale. This was a group of professional artists. There was about 9 artists, I think, that had content that was really professionally well done and, in a more traditional sense, filled a square frame and was on a rotating loop for about 20, 25 minutes, I think. And it was in conjunction with the Portland Winter Lights Festival, which I don't know if anybody here knows what that is, but last year was the first year of that. It's a pretty cool thing that happens around OMSI, and they are looking for artists as well to do light-based art, if you know anybody who's into that realm.
They're doing it again this year in February.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Is it Portland State professor?
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff Schnabel.
Yeah, yeah.
Really cool stuff. OMSI in February.
Cool.
And then that
Yeah.
was, yeah, you can talk about that one.
Sure. Yeah. So then we had in March we brought in a performance artist who's also, she does a media work and she does live performance, named Jackie Davis, and she came in to do a live performance with a video playing behind and a live Foley artist. So it was actually a really exciting way, and really the only way last year that we activated the space in a live performance sort of way, and it was an exciting change. People, I think they really responded to that kind of live energy as well as the video work component. So that was really cool.
And we're encouraging people to kind of think beyond just the wall itself when it comes to making a proposal for this. Having some live components is a neat thing. You asked about sound, if you had live, in this case, I don't know if you said there was live sound. I mean, I could imagine a drum kit out there during a video screen that's going on, or the limits, there's not really a limit at the moment. Maybe just staying within those parking blocks.
Just the parking lot.
For videos that have sound.
Yeah, there's, I don't know.
Yeah, we had a PA set up that was pretty basic last year, but I think we have, there definitely is sound possibility. We have a little bit more equipment now that we're over at PCM and have access to more equipment there. So yes, sound is possible. There is a sound ordinance, and also we should maybe talk about, this event, it happens on first Thursdays, at sunset, because obviously we won't be able to see much until sunset projected on a wall until, did we say 9 or so?
Yeah, it's about 9.
Yeah, and then 10 p.m. is the sort of cutoff for the sound ordinance in the area.
And in that neighborhood, the foot traffic pretty much teeters off at around 9 o'clock. So
yeah, which is why we stopped.
you'd be watching it with the folks that came with you towards the end there, which it gets kind of cold. And
Is it done just one artist tonight? Or one,
So this year, we are accepting applications for single artists as well as collectives, as well as curators who might want to gather a collection.
One,
Oh, but one per, yeah, I think,
it's like one featured group, yeah.
yeah.
And one feature per night. I think that's
Correct.
what he's
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So each month, each first Thursday, we'll have a different group
And
represented.
then they just show one thing. Is that-
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I
They
mean,
could, depending on, yeah, they could show multiple
So
things.
it's within the time frame, they
Yes.
could do more than one thing.
you could
That's-
have
that's
4 hours of
possible.
something, but we're encouraging that something to be a non-narrative form
Yeah.
so that people don't need to stay around the 4
Right,
hours to
to
catch
listen.
all of it.
Mhm.
This is part of there's one month that's not kind of the standard month, and
Mhm.
it's part of an international group that goes by Bring Your Own Beemer. And what we're doing for the month of January, I believe it is,
Mhm.
anybody can show up with a projection device and their media and project on the side of the wall. And there's no jury there. It's just if you have something to project with and something to project, then we'll provide power for anybody to show up as long as the content is acceptable for an outdoor environment.
Mhm. For a general audience.
abstract art.
Anything.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's pretty cool because you don't know who's going to show up, and it could be 5 people, it could be 50. And so figuring out where those get positioned around is kind of a fun process.
Yeah, so that'll happen in January.
How
This
long can
month.
productions be?
Well, because like William was saying, it's sort of, it lends itself, the environment lends itself well to sort of a project that you can drop in on and then sort of leave. So I don't know, maybe you say 20 or 30 minutes could be tops?
Yeah, it seemed like successful ones were enough where somebody walking by could stand around for a bit and not get bored. So 15, 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Some people stay around for 5 minutes. Others come back and see something that they didn't see. Because there's a few galleries on, different parts of the neighborhood that make it so you can see it from a few different vantage points across the street and stuff.
I want to make sure I understand this. Is it
Yeah.
year round, but it just changes because of the?
We're about to go through the schedule.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you
First I thought
segued us
first
right
I thought
into
it was just the
it.
darkest ones, and then it sounded like I was like, oh, that's only like 4
Yeah,
choices a year.
I know.
Right.
It's not it's unfortunate, but I do like the light myself.
yeah.
So these are the months that the whole programming goes for the winter season. And the opportunities that you guys are able to apply for are these three, and then this last one, which we'll talk about that in a minute. So, and then the other months will be filled in by that thing I just talked about, the Bring Your Own Beemer. And then we're partnering with colleges to, again, do some student work because it's a pretty great exposure for students.
Yeah. So and the call for artists, the 3 opportunities that you just saw are pretty great opportunities. It's a chance to showcase your work for one night to the public on a big wall with a built-in audience. And it's sort of existing work or recently made work that we're looking for, and all the sort of criteria that we were talking about before in terms of short form, things that people can just drop in on and enjoy, maybe an interactive element. And with that, you get a stipend of $1,000, an honorarium of $1,000 if you were selected for that one. And there are 3 months that's possible. So October, November, or February are the possibilities for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you turn in your project,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that you're automatically, it's going to be seen on the wall.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
But if you come on Bring Your Own Beamer Day, which is January, then you can come with your own projector and your own stuff and show it. But so we have a panel of judges.
Panel of 5.
5 judges that are local arts professionals, and we are not going to be making the choices. They will be making the choices of who, gets accepted for these spots.
The best thing, like a laser light show or something like that,
I don't know if there is a best thing, but
right? What type of material usually is the most?
so we've only done it for 1 year, and those folks that we showed, some were professional, some were students. I really enjoyed both. I think putting your best work in your submission would be in your best interest, and not trying to think of what would be the best. Like, I think whatever you want to show of your own stuff would be the best thing to present.
I would think about the environment too, even though there is sound.
Stuff,
Yeah,
so
Well, what kind of
go
stuff?
out, what would the content consist of?
yeah. Well, I think I don't know if it's so much content as much as what we think or what they think will be good in the space, right? Because, thinking about the space itself, even though we do have sound, it's not pristine quality sound. We're still in an open area with sound bouncing all over the place. So it can't really be something where you have to listen in and hear and follow a whole narrative. That may not be as successful as something that's a little bit more abstract potentially. But I don't know. That's just my
So the more
opinion.
abstract it is, the better chance it has a plan, right?
Well, I don't know if that's true either. I just
Are there any samples of, I'm on YouTube right now looking to see if maybe somebody has YouTube video of night lights, but it might be nice to see
We have.
sampling of what
I
was
don't know how to pull
Safari.
that up though. I have to get out of PowerPoint. We have the one performance piece pulled up on a.
Yeah, I can do it too. Oh yeah.
So, but it doesn't pop up
I
there.
think you have to
But I think the sample you have doesn't show any of the film.
exit it first, maybe.
It's just the performance.
It
Oh,
is?
it might just be the performance with the projection in the background. That's possible. But we can still maybe play it.
And this is our first year doing it. So, our first year actually putting a call out. So whoever gets picked this year is going to be the sample for next year that we get to
That's
show.
true. Yeah, last year was very scrappy. We were sort of,
Yeah.
this was the first official year that we're doing it. Last year we were pulling together, just people.
We were just piloting it really and testing how the equipment worked, what the logistics were, just really trying to figure out how that would all go together. So for example, when we did the February showing that was part of the Festival of Lights, there was an artist who had curated 9 other artists, and there was a theme that had to do with I think it was Bodies in Motion, Bodies at Rest was the title of the collection of pieces. The overall loop was 56 minutes. But any of the individual pieces weren't longer than, I think the longest one was maybe 8 minutes. So there was a kind of a loose sense of narrative to that, but it wasn't, I'm going to stand here and watch this whole thing for 56 minutes. So you could kind of dip in and dip out. And I think that's kind of important given that it's an outdoor venue and it can be rainy and not so pleasant. So you want it to be so that people can kind of come and take a look for a while and then maybe go to a gallery and then come back out again. Or
Is there a montage of last year's submissions?
there isn't really. So we have one sample here that we can look at. This is the one that had the performance component.
It might be kind of loud.
So you are projecting the sound, they're not.
Yeah, there's actually a table that's over here with somebody playing a little thumb instrument.
Okay, so this is by the group, that they're doing their own sounds. Okay.
And they had people with flashlights that were adding the shadows. And this one's a little outside the box because they had all the moving parts. How much do you want to watch?
Is that the only one you have?
Yeah, I think that's the only one we have, unless
Some of those
what about Sunny
stills.
Side Up?
Yeah, some of the stills gave kind of a sampling.
And then Ariana, you were part of a group, a class last year, and so you as a class worked to establish a framework, right?
Yes.
And
Let me
then,
get
do you
that out
want
of the way.
do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Do I go up?
No, well, I'll just bring this to you.
Okay. So yeah, last year we did sort of like a collaborative
Yeah.
effort in at PNCA for like a animated arts / video and sound incubator type of deal. And basically what we did was start with a theme, and so we were thinking about the idea of the Exquisite Corpse, where you kind of build off of one another. One of the important things we had to think about is making sure that it's loopable, so that there is like, you don't get that sense of like something that's ending or beginning, it just continues. And then we did sort of a template of a circle so that you could hide the idea that there's like a screen present on the building. So really just playing around with like projection mapping and like projection onto like a hole in the wall, basically. So we were really taking into consideration, you know, the environment, like the city of Portland, and then the building itself. And yeah, we just like, we kind of had that sort of idea, and then we just, like one of our classmates, his name is Adam Simmons, and he does like these drone projects where he takes video footage from a drone, and he did a lot like on industrial aspects of Portland. And me, myself, I did a lot of layering on After Effects with some animation and video. And then other people, they do like cartoons or they do more abstract work. So really it's just, it's open-ended. I guess as long as there's like a theme that you're thinking about and you're taking into consideration what you're trying to project onto it, and then like the building itself.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Great.
So in terms of some of the examples, you saw these, but it's everything under the sun, kind of. Here's some of that narrative stuff that she was talking about. Completely abstract shapes. In some cases, it was just laser lights and whatnot. And this year, we're looking for, you know, something a little bit, not a little bit better, but just as good, thoughtful. You had a question. You had your hand up a few times.
No, I believe you answered it. I mean, not many people are, like you're saying, not going to stand there for over 20 minutes if your production has a plot and a storyline. I mean, they're not going to be standing there for so long, right?
Yeah.
It has to be more abstract.
Yeah, or short form. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to ask, I was kind of intrigued by some of the stuff that's going on with dancing. What sort of setup you guys comfortable with? I mean, like I wanted to like hang a sheet or some sort of fabric in the building, that'd be acceptable?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I think everything is, it's within a conversation, right? I mean, I'm guessing as long as it's non-destructive to the building, that's sort of the first thing to think about. Do you want to talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks. That's what I would say. But I think propose, you know, your wildest dream, and then within reason.
Yeah, something that you'll be able to
Yeah,
produce.
a practical thing, because it's also, you know, I mean, it's a small staff of people that will be there, but we will, you know, there is some assistance, but it's not like a giant crew that we're going to be able to provide you. It's small. It's a modest setup, let's say.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you
Yeah.
guys, I mean, that was welcome to the submission.
Most definitely, because that last piece that we watched a little animation or the video of, like, that was where we felt we were pushing the boundary for that year, and we kind of want to incorporate some more of that type of stuff this year. I would suggest going down there and just checking the space out at any time of day. Nighttime obviously would be the best because there's a variety of light leaks from street lamps and stuff like that that fill the space. So to get a feel for that would be in your best interest if you're going to apply for the submissions.
Yeah.
And so there's the three $1,000 opportunities that we were talking about that are, you'd be featured on that night and that night alone. But then there's an additional $5,000 residency opportunity with Portland Community Media, which I think Lindsay can talk more about.
Yeah, so with that last opportunity, it's also an opportunity to showcase your work that night on March 2nd for the first Thursday. But an additional component is that the person who is granted that that opportunity gets a residency at Portland Community Media, which means it'll mean different things for different people depending on their ability, but I mean their skill level in terms of what their equipment knowledge is. But we have a lot of equipment at Portland Community Media. We've got we have one giant green screen studio, another small green screen studio. We have, a lot of probably the same things that you guys have here at Metro East, but what the artists in residence would get to do they'd have access to all of that, potentially, depending on what their needs are, classes, the fees waived for the classes so that they can certify to use some of that stuff in order to make a new work for the March showcase. So it's the intention of spending time using the equipment in the studios, whatever is needed, and then making a new work for March. So that's pretty exciting.
And so with that submission, you would submit work that you've already done that would say, this is the kind of work that I do. And I think I want to do something like this if I were to get this residency. So you don't have to have a finished product for that. And within that residency, you would then produce a finished product, which would, I don't know if you said, it'd be broadcasted on PCM.
Right, that's right, yeah.
And then that piece would actually become part of the public art collection of the city and county, which is a pretty cool thing to have your work in the collection in that sense, because there's not too many video pieces that exist in that collection as it is. And so that's a totally separate opportunity from the $1,000 single night opportunities.
That's good.
Deadlines,
yeah. So the application is up on a website called SubmitAbocom. And I wonder if we should have had the URL there. But the application due date is August 8th. We do have these handouts that have the information. Yep.
So, is there a really long URL? Is there
I think it's Portland Community Media something.
For the link to the...
For the link to the application. Oh, it's on the first page. Great.
It is on the RACC website.
Yes, it's also on the RACC
Go to
website.
racc.org, and you search nightlights, you would come up with the page that
It's on here.
That's weird.
has the application link on it.
Yes.
Maybe it's on the last slide.
Oh, I did do that. I forgot.
So it is somewhat of a long...
It is kind of,
A
yeah, it's
long one.
portlandcommunitymedia.submittable.com. But you can, go on Submittable, and I think you can search it.
And if you don't know what Submittable is, it's kind of one of many ways that you submit to calls like these. And it takes a little getting used to if you don't know about it. You'll have to sign up, get an account. It'll be a scenario where you'll upload links to videos or stills, and then fill in some fields that allow you to describe your work and some work that you're proposing if you're applying for the $5,000 opportunity. If you have questions in any of that stuff, all of us are available, Lindsay, myself, and there's a third person who can answer through email primarily or phone calls most of your questions.
And what's the turnaround for that? Say you turn yours in by August 8th. When will you let somebody know?
So the artist roster is announced September 1st. So between those dates, the panelists will be going through all of the applications and discussing and figuring out, and then we'll announce On September 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah Turner wasn't able to make it tonight, but she is the primary or the first point of contact. She put together the whole submittable site for us, and she's really great. So that is her information if you have any other questions about that.
So I've been texting to someone who couldn't be here. They wanted to know if they could submit multiple ideas. And you have to, you don't have to, I'm assuming you don't have to have it already done. I mean, you could have something done, or you can propose what you want to do to create for it, right?
So for the residency opportunity, it would be I'm proposing this for this residency. But for the other $1,000 opportunities, we want to have the work pretty much done so that what you're presenting is what is going to be seen on the side of the building. But if it's a scenario where they have it mostly done, I would say submit what's mostly done and then explain in the application, like, I'm going to be done with this really soon.
But if they have multiple things that they would like to submit, can they submit multiple things?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's a limit to what you can
I
submit.
don't think so either. I think you could submit multiple times.
Yeah.
And is there a cost?
No cost.
No cost
cost
for
for submitting.
submitting. Nope. Good question, though.
For the residency, do
Yeah.
you if you're an emerging artist, can you still apply, or is it more important if you have experience?
I think you should apply. I think you should totally apply. You also have experience because you also projected last year. So you're the most experienced at this.
I don't know if we made the restriction of students.
No, I think that we just said, emerging artists for sure, but there's no restriction.
Okay, does anybody want one of these info sheets?
Yeah. I also have,
One more question. I
yeah.
was thinking about Ray. You do
Yes.
music type documentaries that you're thinking about, right?
Hmm.
I was thinking,
Do you also
even though
want
that
the
might be a longer
catalog
form,
and
if
pass
there
those around,
are
maybe?
performances
The
by different
PCM catalog, in
bands.
case anybody wants to know
To
what we
me,
do
that
over
would
there.
seem like something that would play even if we're a half an hour or longer, and still be interesting for the passerby, because it would be music performance, even though yours would be a longer piece. So I just, it sounded like you were really leaning towards really short form, when it seems to me that different long form might fit really well,
Yeah.
especially with music performance.
Completely. If it doesn't have like a linear narrative that you need to follow from beginning to end, then.
Yeah, you don't want to sit there for 2 hours to find out if John's gonna get the job.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, if it's music performance, that kind of thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a neat
It
idea.
looked like you were a little disappointed when it sounded like they were going more short form.
Well, I guess I can break it off in clips.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, think about the idea of even having the bands in the parking lot, and then you have visuals behind the bands.
Yeah,
That's a
that'd be
whole.
cool.
That's a whole nother idea.
Mhm. That's a good idea.
Having the actual band in the parking lot.
Because I think you all should apply.
Yeah.
And if you can get people to dance, I mean, shoot, that's even better.
Yeah, extra
We get
points.
bonus points?
Yeah, absolutely.
I will come down and personally dance. For any Portland community, sorry, I'll dance for PCO too.
Thank
But I'll
you.
especially dance for Metro East producers.
So an average night has about, this many people roughly. It comes and goes. It comes in waves. I think the most we counted in heads was 100, 175.
Yeah, I think we had about 100. But I will say that this year, because we're sort of a little bit more official, last year was very scrappy. We were just piloting it to see what would happen. This year, we're going to have a new design. We're going to have more targeted marketing efforts. I mean, both PCM and racc are going to be pushing it out more deliberately this year to try to get the word out. So I think that the attendance will be much stronger this year.
There were a couple months last year where we didn't know until like the week before what we were doing. So, it'll be a little more organized.
Yeah.
But it was good. I mean, it's always good to kind of test something and just figure out what needs to happen next. And then once you know a little bit more, be able to throw it open and, bring more artists in. And so we definitely hope you'll apply. And if you have any questions in the process, really don't be afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was that there that's on the wall now? Do you remember or do you
The
know?
the dancing performance piece.
Yeah,
Is
this
that-
was the
is
video
that-
part of the
that's the
dancing
dancing
performance.
performance?
Yeah.
So the artist had a short video that took place when the dancers weren't dancing because
Okay, so
she only
that-
had the dancers perform for about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay,
But what
and
it's
then the video took over?
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
did it twice. So she had the video play and then the performance, and then they did it again where they played the video and did the performance. So twice in one night. And that worked pretty well. Yeah, any other questions? No? Great. Well, thank you so much for coming.
yeah. Thank you guys.
And
Coming and sharing.
We
yeah,
look forward to seeing your submissions.
Could it be
Yeah.
like